Here on the Save It for Parts channel, it might surprise some viewers to know that I don't know how to weld. Or it might not surprise you if you've seen my prior creations using zip ties and duct tape. You might not be surprised at my lack of welding skills at all. Either way, Vevor has offered to help me fill in that hole in my skill set by sending me a welder. And I'm not actually 100% sure what's in here. I just asked them to send me something that's easy to use for a beginner who has essentially no welding experience. Now, I have actually welded, I think, twice in my life. Once with a gas system, oxyacetylene, to fix something on my boat back in Alaska, which ended up looking like a complete mess. And then once with an electric welder and trying to learn a little bit from a friend, and I don't even remember what kind of electric welder it was. Fluff has just magically appeared here and is going to assist with this unboxing, as she does. I've worked with Vevor before, and I've always been pretty happy with their product, so I figured this would be a good one to check out. I believe this is a wire-fed, maybe a MIG system. It looks like this is a gasless flux core wire. And again, I really have no clue of the difference between MIG and TIG and whatever other welders there are. I do actually own a welder that someone gave me, and I do appreciate that, but I have never had the time to actually figure out how to use it. It is very old. It uses some obscure electric plug that doesn't exist in my house or garage, and I've never quite figured out how to use that one either. So I'm hoping that this one is easy enough that I will actually use it and learn how to use it, and it will become a good tool for the channel. We've got a manual, and it looks like this is a MIG welder, specifically the MIG-200 model. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in this package that I have little to no idea of how to use. We'll definitely have to read through the manual and probably watch some other videos on how to get started with a MIG welder. Now, I believe this is supposed to be a gasless version, although it does have an option for gas in the back here. And I think that is some kind of argon or helium or some other inert gas. Again, I really don't know much about MIG welding. We have some very basic instructions here inside the side panel. But as the front of the unit suggests, I will be reading the manual before going any further here. And it looks like this unit is pretty versatile and does more than just MIG. It will do several types of MIG, including manual, and then it will also do stick arc welding. It does have a stick holder for that. And then if you get an additional piece for it, it will do TIG welding, but it didn't come with that torch, so we probably won't be getting into that at all. So it really sounds like this is an all-in-one unit that will do pretty much all of the major types of welding, and that sounds perfect for a beginner like me. So this is 1 kilogram of wire. I have no idea how long that lasts in normal use. Instructions are kind of vague on how you get this wire into place without it just unspooling like crazy. It really wants to just spring out everywhere. Now we've got this intimidating connector that looks like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. I think I've got that on. It seems really loose. Is it supposed to be that loose? I've got this part tightened down as much as I can. To get the wire through, I need to take this tip apart. And these are apparently a consumable product because you wear these out or they get stuck to your workpiece if you're not careful. So it does come with extra copper tips. Now, oddly enough, that power button on the back, it's a big clunky analog switch, but it's not actually analog because there is some delay between you switching it on and the front coming on, or switching it off and things turning off. So it looks like an analog on-off switch, but there's some digital witchery going on in here. I don't have the power hooked up to anything, so we're just feeding wire without actually activating it. All right, there's our wire. Now we can reassemble the tip. So this tip says it is 1 millimeter, but it sure is hard to get onto the wire. And there are some sort of tooth marks on the wire from the feed system. So I might adjust my tension down a little bit because I don't know if it's actually damaging the wire here. Again, I am brand new to this and I'm trying to follow the instructions. I'm following what I saw online, but it's not always clear to a raw beginner of what all the hoops are to jump through with one of these and what kinds of things you need to adjust to get it working just right. And I've learned from the internet that your stick out, your amount of wire coming out is important, and I want much less than this. Again, if you're a beginner at this, do not follow anything I'm doing because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just following other videos, so I should not be taken as a how-to guide on welding. So I headed over to Northern Tool to pick up some more supplies for this welder. So I've got a basic kit with the mask, gloves, hammer, magnet, all that stuff. And then this was on discount. The salesman talked me into it. It was normally like $230, and with the 50% off, it was like $18. So I didn't know I needed a welding table, but now I have one. Now this was another $120, so it wasn't the cheapest. You can definitely get cheaper PPE at your local hardware store, but I've heard Lincoln is a good brand for helmets, and I figured I might as well not get the very cheapest one out there. While we're talking PPE and safety, I should mention a couple other safety tips, and again, this is not a how-to video, so do your own research before buying a welder, but some basic safety stuff in addition to the obvious safety issues like high voltage electricity and high amperage electricity. There are other dangers of welding. For example, if you weld galvanized metal, the vaporizing zinc can be toxic and you don't want to breathe that. Likewise, if you're cleaning your metal with certain products or chemicals, heating those chemicals can also be toxic, and in fact can be very toxic very quickly if you use things like brake cleaner. So there are certain chemicals you never want to use around a welding table. There are also dangers like my massive pile of cardboard boxes here, which the welding table will be moved away from the cardboard boxes, so I'm not going to be welding right next to the giant fire hazard. Apparently another danger of welding is skin cancer. You can actually get yourself exposed to so much ultraviolet light from the welding arc that you can develop cancer, or at least long-term professional welders can. I don't know if hobbyist welders who just do it now and then on the weekends have that much exposure, but it's good to keep the exposure level of things like that down. Now I have a bunch of scrap metal here in the corner, but most of it is aluminum, which I think this machine will do, but I've heard it's harder to get started on aluminum, so maybe don't want to do that yet. Or it's galvanized, which again I've heard can put off dangerous chemicals if you heat it up. So maybe we won't start with those. I'll have to look around the garage a little more and see if I can find some regular iron to start welding on. Well, this stuff's rusty, so it must be some kind of steel or iron. I guess we'll start with that. I also have all this stuff that I've been hoarding that I found in various places. Well, not the torch, but lots of iron junk here that I could start welding together. It's already a little bit artistic, and I could potentially make it more artistic if I know what I'm doing. But I definitely need some practice before I can go full steampunk. There we go. This is less flammable. It has a higher collar, and I don't care about it as much, so we'll use this as the welding jacket. Now, this steel that I got is probably, it might be a little thick for a first-timer, but this is what I have, and I'm not going to go out and just buy steel to practice welding on. I've got scrap stuff around. This is the Save It for Parts channel, and this is about 4.5 millimeters thick. So that is up near the top of the chart for the suggested settings. I'm going to go with 4 to 5 millimeters. So I have to admit the chart in here that gives your wire diameter to plate thickness to wire speed to welding current to arc voltage kind of doesn't make sense to me. It's got a bunch of different factors like DSEP and AlMig and AlSci, and I think those are just if you're doing aluminum, which I'm not doing, but it's just mixed in here with the same chart as everything else. So that makes it pretty confusing. All of the information online, all of the basic how-to videos say, oh, just look at the chart in the manual. It'll tell you all the settings you need. I'm sure it does if I knew how to interpret this, but it's kind of meaningless to me. And this is one of the reasons I have never really gotten into welding, because I don't understand it. It's super confusing. It's super intimidating looking at something like this. I guess without really understanding this chart, I'm just going to put in the settings that seem like they might be closest to what I have here, and I guess I'll just send it and see what happens. So all of these settings are basically where I was going to go anyway, and that's what popped up when I did MIG manual and Flux. So I guess I'll just stick with that. All right, here we go. All right, I think that was terrible so far. I need to turn my helmet down a little bit because I cannot see a thing on here. All right, I think I have popped a breaker. So my welds look terrible. I expected that. I expected this to look just like garbage the first couple times. And at first I just totally missed the junction of the metal because I could not see anything through that hood. But yeah, this was going okay until the breaker popped, and then my wire is just welded to the plate. So yeah, that isn't great, I guess. It looks like we were getting some heat penetration here, and I've heard that's good. I also noticed all of the electricity is arcing through one spot here in the plate and one spot on the table, so it's all going from here into the plate or out of the plate. I forget which direction the electrons flow, but I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's okay or if that's a problem. Again, I have really no clue about all the little details of this process. I'm also switching back and forth between my good camera and my phone because I think the camera's okay looking at the welder, but I'm not sure. I don't know if the bright lights can damage the camera, so I'm just going to use my phone camera, which is already worn out. These Google Pixel 3s and 4s, the video chips just die from overuse with me, so this one's already flaky. The nice 4K camcorder, I'd like to protect that, so all of the actual ARC video is going to be on the phone. And we blew the breaker again. Wow, I am all over the place with this. I started out pretty good there on the left of that pass, and then it just started wobbling all over the place and making a giant mess. I think maybe this is still set too high. I can't see the metal. All I can see is the white spot. So I'm going to turn this down, I think, to 11. All right, we're going to try this again at 76 amps, which is as close as it'll go to 75. All right, I'm pretty sure my feed rate is too high because the wire is coming out faster than I want. So we got through that last one on the far right without blowing the breaker, but it looks like we didn't even have contact, or the gas wasn't enveloping the thing correctly right at the end there. Now, the feed rate was too fast. I think the wire was coming out faster than I was really ready for it. Now, I was trying to join these two plates on top of each other. I just put them in the vise and hit them with a hammer and broke the welds, but this time I'm just going to try welding down this seam and joining the two plates that way. Well, some of that bead went where I wanted it. So I'm still having trouble with the helmet settings. I keep turning the darkness down and down and down, and I cannot see my work surface. I can see the bright light of the arc, but I can't tell where the arc is in relation to the seam here. Yeah, 90% of the problems I'm having here, I think, are with the helmet. Like this thing, if I even shake my head, if I even move my head wrong, it collapses. It is not holding itself up at all. And I guess I still don't understand the relationship between amperage and wire feed speed on this. I've got it set, I had been setting it lower, like I can turn this down because 3.2 was too fast. So if I turn it down, I'm also changing the amperage because, oops, okay, yeah, you got to really hold this down for a while and then release it. Yeah, see, now our amperage has gone down. So it is automatically setting the wire speed versus amperage, so I can't manually control that. And it's just, that wire is coming out too fast for me, and I don't know, maybe I'm not pushing it into the workpiece enough. Yeah, I think my bead is improving, but my aim, my tracking is terrible. I can't see where that seam is. If I had to sum up welding so far, super mystifying, confusing, frustrating. I don't understand this at all. All right, I brought the whole setup outside now that it's daylight to see if this helps with the visibility of my workpiece. Yeah, last night I was just in the dark garage. I couldn't see what I was working on, so we've come out here in the bright sunlight to see if that helps. It's also a little more airflow. I had some fans running last night, but they were on the same circuit as this thing, so I've unplugged those. Maybe that will keep me from popping the breaker as often. We'll see what happens. Okay, that didn't work at all. We got some stick coming out, but no contact. Is my clamp in the wrong place? I'm sure all of this is well-known stuff to anybody who's actually welded before, but again, I don't know any of these tiny details, and I'm sure the comments will be full of people saying, oh, you're doing this wrong, and you should have tried this, and you got your settings wrong. Well, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I need to learn. All right, well, I got a little better towards the end. That stuff on the right kind of looks like welding. The rest of it, not so much. I still can't see a thing out here, even in bright sunlight. And I've tried turning this back up, all the way up to 13, because some folks on Reddit said sometimes it's easier to see with the shade higher than lower, but it doesn't seem to matter. No matter where I set this, I can see nothing. All right, well that one was going a lot better until I popped the breaker again. I was basically just holding my head right up next to it so I could see where I was going and trying to go really slow. And it seemed like that was doing a lot better, but then, yeah, too much juice and blew the breaker. And we popped the breaker yet again. I keep turning this down and down. And my welds are starting to look better. They're still not great, but they're better than this down here. And it does look like the heat is penetrating all the way through the metal. Let's see if I can tack some other random stuff onto this abomination. I'm not quite sure what I've made here. Is this art? It's definitely all pretty secure. Everything's welded together at least, so I'm getting better at attaching metal to other metal. And I'm down to 55 amps, and I am still getting heat penetration through this 5mm plate. So I guess I was being really overboard with the 100 amps. I didn't need that much, it seems like. It seems like 55 will do just fine with this stuff. All right, so welding is definitely interesting. It's entertaining. I still find it super confusing and frustrating, but it is fun to make stuff, to stick metal to other metal. And I've heard it compared to a hot glue gun where you can hot glue metal to each other. And yeah, maybe, but it's a hot glue gun with a lot of extra steps, where a regular hot glue gun is just, you know, there's one setting, there's glue or there's no glue. So this thing I am still learning about. I'm still learning the proper techniques, the proper settings. I still do not necessarily know the right amperage for it. It seems like I need much less than I was led to believe by the manual. So if I have any complaints about this, it's that the manual is not very clear. For a beginner, it makes no sense to me. The manual was not super helpful as a raw beginner, as someone who has never really welded before. I had to go out and find other information about that. So this might not necessarily be a good unit for a complete beginner, but I don't know if there is a welder that's great for a complete beginner. I don't know if there is one that you can just pick up and start using from a manual, from some info online. On the plus side of this, the build quality definitely seems nice. It's well made, it's got a lot of good parts in it. It doesn't seem to be just made out of cheap plastic. It's also nice that it comes with lots of extra parts. It came with extra rollers, it came with extra tips, it came with that wrench, so there are some extra parts and kind of consumables as things wear out, or if you need to switch to a different wire size, it has those parts available right in the package. It seems pretty versatile. I've only tried just random bits of steel, but apparently it will do aluminum, it will do other metals, it will do gas flow. I don't have any gas tanks, so I can't test out all of the features of this thing, but it definitely seems like it has those features available if you have the supplies and equipment. If you know what you're doing with it, it will do a lot of different things. And it's nice that it works on regular house outlet, 120 volt AC in my house or my garage. Yes, I did keep blowing the breaker, but I had the amperage set way too high. I thought I needed a lot more amperage to weld stuff of this thickness, and it turns out I really didn't, or apparently I didn't. I mean, these welds probably aren't great. They're probably not up to any high quality specification, but they are holding together, and I was able to do that at 50 amp instead of 100 amp, and 50 did not blow the breaker. So yeah, this worked a little bit better once I cranked that amperage down. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this thing. I definitely have a long way to go to learn welding before I can actually incorporate this into my projects, because yeah, this is not going to be, I can't do anything with this. It's just funny. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of learning to do. I probably need to go out and either take a class on this or find an expert welder, or at least a more experienced welder around here who can help me out with this thing. And I do know some people who know how to weld, so I'll go to them and I'll see if they can show me some tips and tricks, because there are a lot of little tips and tricks that it seems like you need to know as a first-time welder. Everything from the amperage, from the grounding, to the wire feed system, to your type of metal, to your prep work, to your lighting, to the settings on your helmet. There are just a million little things that go into this that make it kind of intimidating for the beginner, kind of confusing for the beginner like myself. And I'm still learning all those things. So it's definitely fun, and I would like to thank Vevor again for sending me this welder and giving me the opportunity to start learning to weld. Anyway, if you're interested in picking up the Vevor welder for yourself, I will put links to that down in the description. And I really do appreciate Vevor sending me this. I mean, yes, it is a product review, but it is really letting me improve my skills, or at least develop my skills in a new technique. And it's, yeah, you can definitely see my learning experience here, all the way from some of my earliest welds down there up to some of my final ones, which are definitely looking better. They're not perfect, of course, but they are better. And I'm even learning stuff like tack welding, like just sticking little stuff onto other stuff. And yeah, I know I kind of melted through this a little bit, but yeah, that's all part of the learning experience. I hope this has been an interesting video for everyone. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.